This is FinTech Futures at FinovateFall, and I'm here with Bruce Richards from OakNorth. How are you?
Very well, Paul. Glad to be here.
Excellent. It's great to have you talking to us. Just to get started then, would you like to give us a quick introduction to yourself and your role?
Sure, be glad to. I currently serve on the advisory board of OakNorth and also as vice chair of Credit Suisse Holdings in the United States, and on the advisory board of two other FinTech companies as well, having spent most of my career in commercial and investment banking.
Excellent. So you're taking a part in a talk about climate change and financial services. In the wake of COP26 last year, there was a lot of talk about hitting net zero targets. Where do you think the kind of financial landscape is in this regard? Then are banks starting to take notice now?
Definitely banks are starting to take notice, Paul. It's both for their own risk management practices, they need to, but the political and regulatory concern is also rising very quickly. Notably, there were two speeches in the last 10 days, one by the Vice Chairman of the Fed, Michael Barr. He spoke about three topics. One of the three was climate. Mike Hsu, who's acting controller of the currency, similarly covered four topics. One of them was climate risk. So it's on the minds of the regulators, it's on the minds of the banks. In talking to CEOs in the US who went through shareholder meetings in the spring, every single one of them faced numerous questions about climate risk. So yes, it's on the minds of the banks, their boards, and their employees.
Perfect. So what would you say are some of the key actions that banks and fintechs can take then to try and get that net zero target?
Yeah, I think it's important that banks act now and kind of get ahead of the curve where it's possible. It is early days. There are a lot of challenges, including non-standardization of data and information. But I think banks need to assess their own emissions first, figure out how to measure and monitor those on an ongoing basis, and set targets. Banks and fintechs need to educate a variety of constituents. First of all, their employees, their leadership teams, their boards, and their investors, whether they're public or private. Investors are asking questions and expecting banks to be moving in the right direction. Then the second and third challenge becomes even more difficult, and that's measuring the emissions of your clients, if you're lending to them, and of your supply chain providers.
So what kind of initiatives has OakNorth put in place then to kind of promote that sustainability?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for us. Starting in 2019, OakNorth was able to measure and track its emissions and move to a net zero position versus scope 1 and 2 emissions. And we have a benefit in some ways. We're a relatively young bank, growing extremely rapidly, but without a legacy portfolio of clients in fossil and fuel intensive industries. So we've been able to shape our business kind of in line with some of the environmental goals. We've also set a goal of 2035 to be completely neutral across scope 1, 2, and 3. I think we're one of the first banks to accomplish that with scope 1 and 2 with very little use of carbon offsets. And we have set a goal of 2035, which is probably 10 to 15 years ahead of where most of the industry will be.
So with customers becoming more climate conscious then, starting to demand more from their financial institutions when it comes to that sustainability, do you think that presents an opportunity then for firms to really take a kind of lead in this area?
I really do. I mean, there are some risks and challenges, Paul, but the opportunity is just enormous. There was a recent study done in the US that to decarbonize our whole electric grid is going to take an investment of over $5 trillion. It's an unimaginable number to me, but over many decades. But it can be at the large corporate level, helping clients reconfigure plants in a more fuel efficient manner, which costs a lot of money to do and they need financing, to small companies, let's say a food delivery company or a contracting firm that has 20 or 30 trucks out on the road every day. How are they going to convert to electric or hydrogen vehicles or whatever it's going to come will require a lot of capital up front. And right down to the consumer level, putting solar panels, financing solar panels for homeowners. So it is staggering, and I think the banks that develop the ability to look at their data to identify risks, but more importantly, the clients that present huge opportunities. OakNorth has also done a lot in this area for their own portfolio, but has developed a product called OakNorth Climate, which is a SaaS application that enables other banks to assess their portfolio and make, we think, much better and quicker decisions in terms of where they need to focus on the risks and where the opportunities are.
Excellent, excellent. And you touched on it slightly earlier, but do you think banks and other financial institutions then also need to be held a bit more responsible when it comes to not only promoting better practice in their own institutions, but the companies they're investing in and third-party suppliers as well that they're working with?
I guess I have two answers to that, Paul. One is I think it is incumbent upon financial institutions to do so and advise clients and push them in that direction. But there's also a huge benefit in doing that and becoming a trusted advisor, because then you generally will end up with the financing business as well. But it's challenging. It's going to be a long and hopefully relatively smooth transition with a lot of pluses and minuses to look at in every transaction.
Cool. And on that front, then, just to finish off, are you optimistic then when we're looking towards the future when it comes to bringing down emissions and hitting those net zero targets, like you say, in 2035?
I am actually an optimist. I am by nature, but I am on this topic. The whole world's late in the game, but there's enough creativity and capital out there to get it done. So, absolutely.
Excellent. Sounds great. So thank you, Bruce, for talking to us. It's been great seeing you.
Paul, great to meet you.
You too.